Are you excited for a cold front we're going to have here in the state, here in Texas? Well, if you are, you better be checking your furnace because a lot of people when cold front hits, they just freaking blast on the heaters, and if you don't check on the furnace, something bad can happen. Take a look.
Making sure that everything is operational safe and the safeties are operating correctly. Making sure that if you have gas, that it is burning efficiently.
Johnny Hinojosa with Scott Air Conditioning and Heating says when it does come time to turn on your heaters, one of the most important things you can do is check the air filter. He says dust that accumulates on the filter and within the unit is what contributes to that odor that people smell the first time they turn on their heaters.
So that's burn off from the dust, and you'll get that for a few minutes. And it's advised that you open up the home and let things kind of air out.
Corpus Christi Fire Chief Brandon Wade says the fire department receives an increase in calls when people do start turning on their heaters. He says most of the time people call about the smell of a burning odor inside their homes.
If you continue to have that problem, one, again, you should have your unit serviced, but two, if you believe that you are smelling or see fire or smoke, we definitely want you to call 911. We do understand that that does cause a scare in folks, so you would call 911 and we'll go and we'll address it.
Chief Wade also urges people not to use something like your stove to heat up your home. Instead, turn to something like a space heater, but still keep it at a safe distance from other objects inside your home.
Don't put them next to clothes or curtains or right up against your bed. You truly need space around your space heater so we don't have those unnecessary accidental fires.
Now, Chief Wade also wants to remind people about the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning. That's something that any home with gas heating appliances can come in contact with. While it is rare, both Hinojosa and Wade advise that if your home has gas appliances, to have a carbon monoxide detector to protect your family. Leslie?
That is such important information, so I'm so glad that you touched on that. Madeline, thank you.
And it's such important information with our common sense alert. Number one, I smell something bad. I turn on my heater, I smell something bad. Don't call 911 because of the heater smell. It does that. It's like it's gonna stink. That's because of the heater. Check your air filters and watch this report. That way you can understand. Don't be calling 911 because of the stink. And if there's an issue with your air conditioner causing fire, space heaters, don't put them near your clothes. If that ever happens, you need to call 911 immediately. Immediately. Okay.
Historic healthcare.
Just give me a few seconds here. This week is Banned Books Week. Let's take a look at the books that are banned. Again, ignore the ads. I don't have them going on.
Over the past 2 years, there's been a rise in the number of banned and challenged books in the U.S.
This as an assault on our democracy, on our democratic process, and a real threat to the freedom to read for students.
Casey Meehan is a program director at the nonprofit PEN America. PEN is one of the groups behind Banned Book Week, which this year runs until October 7th. Meehan tells Inside Edition Digital that Banned Book Week is
a national campaign to raise awareness around book bans and how they are occurring in both our public schools and our public libraries.
Why devote a week to banned books?
As part of our ongoing campaigns to push back against a growing rise in book bans. Over the last 2 years, PEN America and other organizations have tracked the way in which book bans are increasing across the United States. Just this past school year, the 2022-2023 school year, we counted over 3,000 instances of book bans. affecting over 1,500 unique titles in 33 states, 150 some school districts. So this is something that's pervasive and continues to grow. And our goal with this week is to really bring awareness to efforts to restrict the freedom to read for students in schools and for folks in community more broadly, and mobilize and galvanize, a response that defends and upholds the freedom to read and the right to read freely.
That's enough. That's enough here. Basically, the Banned Books Week is just basically schools that are banning books. It all started with LGBTQ stuff. We remember last season we did an investigation into these LGBTQ stuff, to where think about this. You go on YouTube, look up school bans books. I mean, if you look up angry parents at the school board meeting, it just basically talks about sexually explicit books that are being talked about. And yeah, it's being talked about. It was being talked about because nobody understands the types of books these kids are reading. We don't want them to read explicit books or pornography. That's the kind of stuff that should be not read to a child. And this was from last year. Coming up, these parents are calling on the board to remove sexually explicit books and or assignments. Still ahead, we're gonna have more on the Courtroom Etiquette. Stay with us. This week is Banned Books Week, and if you've been fuming at school board meetings about banning books containing sex and explicit stuff, you may be hearing what I'm talking about here because of what's going on. Last year at a school district, parents were fuming at a school board meeting because of what the child was reading, and it was all about all these sexually explicit stuff. I mean, as you're about to see. Just take a look. I don't want to have to explain this.
A sexually explicit book discovered last month on a Keller ISD library database created a firestorm that came to a head here tonight. Upset parents called on the school board to remove other similar material or resign.
Lead this district, protect our children, or get out of the way.
During a raucous meeting, parents brought signs and openly cheered, as well as booed. Those defending and those adamantly opposed to adult-themed books available to Keller ISD students.
And please stop the sexual grooming of our children by these types of books and illustrations.
It is my job to teach my kids about sex. It's y'all's job to help teach about reading, writing, and arithmetic.
A sexually explicit comic called Gender Queer was pulled last month from an online Keller ISD library database. State Republican leaders, including Governor Abbott, have called for an audit of all school library books and the prosecution of those school employees who allow underage students to access them. Parents who brought a wagon full of some school library books they call pornographic support that idea.
You want to know what it has in it? I'm not going to read it, but I'll tell you. Sodomy, rape, and drug use.
But another group of parents called those comments homophobic and say opponents want to censor material that fosters healthy adolescent development.
Why are we so concerned about the books in the libraries when many of these same kids have access to way worse contents on their phones and their TVs?
Having raised my boys in what amounts to be a homophobic suburb, I ask that you really think of the students before you start pulling books off the bookshelves. Those very books allow students who identify in the LGBTQIA alphabet to see themselves reflected in those pages.
The school board later explained to the crowd how it gets its books for its libraries. They say librarians look for age-appropriate material, but administrators have placed a moratorium on any adult fiction until it can review as many as 10 to 15,000 books. In Keller tonight, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.
J.D., thank you.
It's just what happens. I mean, it's the parents' job to teach the kids about sex. You know what? Let's raise the common sense around here. Two rows for common sense. The first common sense is this. It's the parents' job to teach the kids about sex. The second row of common sense is this. It's the school's job to teach reading, writing, and arithmetics. That's two sections. Let's go to the first section of the common sense here. Yes, it's the parents' job, not the schools. I mean, we have sex education. It's like, think about the episode of King of the Hill where Peggy has to teach a sex ed class for substitution, whatever, and it's what happens. I mean, it shouldn't be up to the United States government to be teaching little Johnny and little Jane about sex. It should be up to the mom and the dad. I mean, if you watch one of my previous episodes last season, I talked to you about how to talk to your kids about sex, which was very challenging for me after I saw an episode of Dr. Phil. That prompted me to do a very special about how to talk to your kids about sex. What's the bottom line here? Don't let your child don't let your child go through the books, go through adult explicit books, number one. Second, watch what your child is doing or watching or doing on the internet. And thirdly, if it happens again, talk to the local board. The board won't do anything. Hire an attorney, file a lawsuit. Now move on to the second section. The second section of this, I had no idea what I was saying here. First section was talk to kids about sex. Second section of this is, I know idea. So really, what's the bottom line here? The bottom line here is this. We need to teach our kids parents need to teach our kids about sex, not the school. And for schools that sit there and say it doesn't matter, it does matter. Oh yeah, I was thinking about it. The second section is for what schools need to be teaching. The schools are required to teach these things. Math, English, social studies, history, electives. Those things are things they need to teach. No philosophies, no nothing. Reading, writing, and arithmetic for the child. High schools get to advanced classes because of what they're doing. Let's take a look at another one from
First tonight a group.
Let's look at this one.
Equitable knows the questions educators have about saving for retirement. Like, how do I start? How do I find...
First tonight a group of parents say they are shocked about the kind of books available in high school libraries in Katy ISD.
Yeah, they read passages from books tonight they consider to be pornography. But others say they need proper context. Matt Doherty was at the meeting tonight and has both sides of this story. Matt?
Yeah, even though students today have access to more adult content than any generation in the past, parents tonight said that doesn't mean they should be able to find it in a public school library.
I'm reading from the book Jack of Hearts by Elsie Rosen, which is currently in Jordan High School.
The description's too graphic for air of sexual acts inside these young adult books. Jack of Hearts, which is at the library of Jordan High School, is just one of the books parents read from tonight that they want removed. According to the review linked to the book on the school library's website, the story's protagonist, quote, doles out sex tips to teens of all orientations, also advises those who aren't sure about sex. It says it's, quote, best suited for older readers. Young adult novelist Donna Freitas wrote in an op-ed for Time magazine arguing that reading these stories in an educational setting opens up a discussion among teens, helping them navigate through big topics like relationships and consent. But the parents tonight don't see it.
I cannot even imagine how I would feel if my child came home with this type of book. We cannot unread this type of content.
Karen Perez says books like these should be put in a special section of the library where parents have to give permission for their child to read them.
They were the worst porn that you've ever seen. It was just incredible. Our kids, they shouldn't be sexualizing our kids.
It's also complicated and tragic, and life sucks. Just want to mention, I've never said the F word ever in my life before until just now, so.
Katy ISD said it wouldn't be able to provide a comment about the books these parents believe are objectionable. The parents are calling for an audit of every school library in Katy ISD. In Houston, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
School's not commenting on what's going on? Give me a break. The school knew about this and they didn't do a damn thing because they don't care. The superintendent's in charge of all schools in the district, and they found out that there was books like that in the library. They want them all removed. Period. Because of the safety of the child. The bottom line here is this. We don't need to be teaching kids about sex via books. I mean, schools don't need to be doing that. Schools do not need to be teaching kids about sex via library books and classrooms. As a matter of fact, sex education should be optionary for the child, not mandatory by the United States government. It should be up to mom and dad to teach the kid about sex. Every culture or religious people does not, parents in different cultures never talk to their kids about sex. It'd be like, Mom, when do babies come from? Go ask your father. Dada, where do babies come from? All I gotta tell you now, son, is you got another gun in your pants. Be careful when you pull the trigger, eh? Go pick on them. That's a different culture. Coming up, more of our special about courtroom etiquette from one judge who decided to throw the book at kids who were caught skipping school. All from truancy court. Stay with us. Monday's broadcast, we focused in on courtroom etiquette. We did a whole special about courtroom etiquette to help prepare you for a next time you're going into court. We focused in on what to wear, what not to wear, what to say to the judge, what not to say to the judge, what to do and what not to do in the courtroom. Basically, the do's and don'ts. Where we last left off, we told you how to prepare for truancy court. To recap the truancy court is a program designed by school districts to help combat truancy. Studies have shown that juvenile delinquency always starts with kids cutting class. And the goal of truancy court is to keep the kids in class. Basically from one person. You're about to meet the judge. You're about to see an example of what happened back in 2009. When Scott Engel went into the courtroom with a camera and looked into what happens when kids are not going to school and have not made promises to their court orders. Basically it's like this. Before 2015, in 2003, if you didn't go to school, then you'd be going to jail for not going to class. Let's take a look.
November 13, 2008, given a fine, went on to school, says you have to pay the fine, you have community service, you also have additional licenses. You taking care of any of that? I did my community service. If they search the 18th, December the 1st, 4th, 15th, 16th, January the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 26th, 27th, 28th, February the 2nd and 3rd. You have the reason for missing those days? What do you want? Do you have school suspension for? Was that for missing school or other problems in school? I appreciate you needing community service, and that was also part of the court order, and the most important part of it is attending school. Unless you can show me another reason, you don't have, unfortunately for you. We received 2 hours in Montgomery County Jail, we take them into custody service. Will not be as fast as that. Unfortunately, trying to do it. They 2 hours in jail. December the 12th, you were in court on the 11th, December you missed the 12th, December the 12th, 16th, 18th, January the 12th, 26th, February the 2nd. And the days, parts of days you see. December the 12th was like 4th period, December the 16th was 1st period. Party on the 17th, 1st period on the 18th. First period on the January before this look building fingers. Sorry. He's in contempt, 72 hours, no crime. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the court order to school, that takes it way up here to another level. When you're court ordered to school, you cannot live without a doctor's note or being as, unless you're at a funeral, you can show proof. If you're sick, you have to go to school and the nurse will send you home. And the reason being is you have 5 to 8 days. I think New Caney gives you 8 days. Splendor, some of them 5. It's different educator at a different level may allow you more days. But you get at least a minimum of 5 days in any school that I deal with parents' notes to miss school. And then some up to 8 days. After that, they start writing tickets. And then once you get up here, you're found guilty, then you are court ordered to school. And as I said, it's a different animal then. If you don't go and you're 17, you're going to jail like this guys. There's nothing personal for me. That's the last thing I want. Statistics will show you, and I know it's not your child or others, but if you're not in school, it's proven. We've actually proven right here in our community, kids were not in school or burglarizing homes or in criminal activity. I didn't dream that up. I didn't make that happen. Police agency has come to me. This child wasn't in school. They judged where they were at. No, I do not. All I know is they weren't in school. We call them burglarizing the home. It happens in numerous. Burglary of habitation or your home is a second-degree felony. That's a very serious crime. If you're in school, you're not going to have that problem. You're doing pretty good. Better than most. January 27th, first period, and the 29th all day. They allowed your parents to go on the 28th. Some usually just don't get pretty good reading.
I've turned in some paperwork to turn in that I just received some of it today.
She's going to get 72 hours. Not going to make it there. They probably count. You got there like 15 minutes, they count you hours. Out of school. What's the in-school suspension for? You have 3 different days for that. Another problem is take the court, sir. Take them into He went to the 10th grade. He's retired now and he did well for himself. You can ask him to this day, he'll tell you, I wish I would have finished school. I wish I would have got on the phone. I have other family members that are attorneys, very prominent attorneys in Houston, Texas. And they were really fortunate to go and get a college degree. I graduated from high school. In my eyes, I'm a successful person. I have business interests as well as real estate and being a judge. I'm doing fine. I think I'm a success. Some people are more successful than others. I wish I would have had an opportunity to get a college degree. It would have made it so much easier for me. That's why I try so hard, guys. My personal, there's got to be some consequences for your actions. That's from living under the rule of law. You don't have to follow the rules, but if you do not, then there's consequences if you choose not to. That's it. You can see the picture. Alright, see you also missed additional days. December the 19th, January the 15th, 21st, and 30th. Do you have any medical reasons or legitimate reasons for missing those days? Pardon? I do appreciate your honesty. I'm not going to show you a fine. Unfortunately, you're going to have to go to jail for safety grounds. You did the 10th, guys. Justin Kelly. No fine, ladies. 72 hours.
Sir, is there anything I can say? I mean, a lot of it has my fault because I work overnight. I can't get home in time. I work 8 to 10.
Even though you 72 hours. I'm going to be back. Nathan was off on that too. Really hurt you on that place. Then you had all day, Thursday, Y'all pretty much heard it all, man. Five children. What is your sixth period class? And your seventh period? No fine, but you didn't attempt to send $2 and
I know y'all gonna be saying, yeah, we've all seen this before. We're going to skip to the end when we return here. And then the judge is going to explain all this. Stay with us. So far, what we have seen in Montgomery County is these kids that you see right here are being hauled off in handcuffs in Montgomery County. And y'all may be asking me what the hell is going on here. Well, back in 2003, before 2015, to where they decriminalized truancy, if you didn't go to school, you had to do all these things in order to not go to jail. Community service hours, pay fines, whatever. If you didn't pay the fines, you ended up in this courtroom. That's what can happen to you. So far we've seen people being arrested. I had to skip to the middle to show you what happened. So let's take a look at the people that are being hauled off to jail, and then we're also going to hear from the judge. Let's go to where they're getting ready to handcuff them and put them in the car. Alright, now that we've seen them getting arrested, let's hear from the judge.
Judge James Smith, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Montgomery County.
Judge, tell me what you had going on today here.
Well, we call it fail to attend court here. It's on truancy issues, kids not attending school. And we have this twice a month on fail to attend issues.
What kind of different today a little bit?
Well, unfortunately, we had what is called show cause hearings today. We court ordered, kids have been here before for failing to attend school, and we court ordered them to attend school without further absences, without excuse, legitimate excuse, and many of them came back today that did have additional absences without legitimate excuses from being out of school, and unfortunately, those that were 17 or older were incarcerated in the Montgomery County Jail for 72 hours. I did not find them. I could have found them an additional $100. I did not. But unfortunately, those are consequences for the actions. They refused to go to school and didn't have legitimate reasons for being absent. And they were sentenced to jail for 72 hours.
And some people may say this is a little extreme, but I mean, this is not the first time or second time or even third time you're court, is it?
No, they've been here numerous times. They've been given different options to stay in school, and they have no legitimate reasons for being out. I asked them, why do you have a legitimate reason for being from school? No, sir, I do not. Basically, they put themselves in jail, not me. We live under the rule of law here in America, and there must be consequences for your actions.
What about the parents' reactions? A couple of parents were here. Any reactions from them at all?
For the most part, they understand. Some of the parents were a bit negative about their children going to jail today, but when they get 17 years old, I think the child is old enough to get themselves up and get to school. The parents are just being protective, but children, they're our greatest asset. It's so important for them to be in school. When they're not, statistics will prove to you that they're a lot of times involved in criminal activity. We've seen that right here in our local communities where kids were not in school. They were burglarizing homes, and that's a serious offense. It's a second-degree felony, burglary of a habitation. And when they're not in school, they're not going to be in criminal activity or burglarizing homes and other crimes.
What about the other youngsters that you 15, 16-year-olds here, you think they got the message today?
I hope so, for their own interest. Some of those were fined extensively, but hopefully that they will understand that there are consequences for your actions, and not going to school is important. You need an education desperately bad in society today to get a decent job, you know, to take care of your basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. Then above that, things that you would like to have in life, things that are nice clothes and automobile at some point in time. So you have to work in order to have those things.
What about probation and alternative? But evidently it doesn't seem to work with the kids lately. I mean, not just your court, but all through the county.
We've tried community service. Different ones laughed and thought it was a joke, so we don't do that too much anymore. We tried different things. We also, a program that seems to be having a positive influence and a positive impact is the truancy program that we have here with Montgomery County Youth Services, the Juvenile Probation Department. We're getting good results back from that. A lot of kids went to that today.
How you're looking at an ankle monitoring type system, how would that help you? And I mean, what are you looking forward to something like that?
To improve attendance issues, it's been very effective in the Midland, Odessa area and San Antonio. It's been very effective there, and we're having a meeting tomorrow with some folks about that, and hopefully we'll get some results there, the answers to some questions we have, and hopefully it'll work as well here as it has out there to bring up the attendance issues here in Montgomery County.
What is that, basically just a monitoring system? If they're not in school, you know where they're at, the monitors, you don't know where they're at?
Absolutely. We'll work in conjunction with the schools. They will have a monitor there as well, and if they're not in school and they're supposed to be, the folks that the meeting tomorrow will give us additional information, but from my understanding that they will contact them. There'll be one-on-one contact. They can call them. If they're not at school, they'll see where they're at, why they're not there. You keep close tabs on them for not being in school.
So what's the total number today at the jail?
A total of 21 unfortunately went to jail today, 17 years old and above, for not going to school.
And was it 72 hours?
They'll be there for 72 hours. I did not find them. I had the option to do that. I did not. But they will be there for 72 hours, and then they will be released, and hopefully they will get back to school and not miss anymore.
Some of these kids kind of thought it was a little funny and everything walking out. Do you think they would change their mind once they get to Courtroom?
I hope so. You know, they're taking someone's freedom away is something serious, and it's not something I like doing or take lightly. And maybe they think it's a joke, but it's not a joke to me. It's very serious that they get an education. 78% of Texas prison inmates, their first citation or first reaction with the law was on truancy matters. That's pretty sad. They need to be in school. They need to get an education for their best interest and for the interest of everybody else in the community.
So there you go. There's the common sense here. And let me tell you, for crying out loud here, I mean, you got to look at this from a perspective and say to yourself, what do I need to do? Well, before the court system, all this, I mean, think about this. If your child didn't go to school, then the parents would go to jail. Iowa is the only law that's very strict about truancy. And then Texas, 2015, they decriminalized truancy. The days of ankle bracelets were over. Ooh, let me play you a portion from the city of Des Moines, Iowa, from back in 2010 when they did a televised truancy court live on YouTube.
Somewhere in the next 3 years.
Here's a portion from somebody named Ulysses. Take a look.
No? Yeah. What grade are you in? You're in 9th grade, so you're at the special school. I mean, that's not a special school, but they do have an academy of some type over there on Porter, right?
Lincoln South.
That's Lincoln South, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're at the Lincoln South and you're at the Lincoln Big School, right?
Yeah.
You play sports or anything? Why not?
I don't want to.
You don't want to? Well, what are you interested in?
What do you mean you're interested?
I mean, what kind of things do you like to do? You don't play sports. You don't like sports.
I like sports, man. I just don't like sports.
Well, aren't you good enough to play it?
Kind of.
Well, if you're good enough, why aren't you playing? Don't you want to excite and, be the big man on campus? Play sports. All the people like you. Isn't that correct?
It's something like that.
Well, I mean, so what do you do? What do you like?
Just hanging out. Yeah.
Huh?
Hanging out.
You like hanging out. You understand, this is that the law requires, at least Iowa law requires, that you have to go to school. And if you don't go to school, your mother can go to jail. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
I heard that you've missed 36 days and maybe 9 of those were excused. All the other days were excused. Don't you understand that the way the law reads is if you don't go to school, they're going to come and take your mother to jail. Do you understand that? So, what are you going to do about that?
Should I go to school?
Okay. You want to help your mother, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't there anything you like about Lincoln South? I mean, the classes or the people or anything?
Isn't that wrong?
There's nothing wrong. You just don't want to go to school. And so you like to hang out all day.
No.
What are you going to be when you grow up? You don't have any idea? You don't have any dreams?
So let me skip right here.
Just hanging out and say, what can I see happening with Ulysses 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now?
Well, I want to be like a tattoo artist. So.
You want to be a tattoo artist? Well, even for that, don't you think you have to either go to a training program or go to school to learn how to do it? You want somebody to tattoo you who didn't have an education? Well, I'm just trying to understand. If you have these dreams and aspirations, you at least sit down and plan that I got to get this so that I can get this. You understand that? I think one of the worst things that can...
That's enough here. I'm going to tell you when we come back here, a brief review about truancy court and what will happen if you don't go to school and all that mumbo jumbo. Stay with us. During our courtroom etiquette special, I'm going to give you a brief review about truancy court. Basically, what you need to know the next time you end up in truancy court, because that's the very first court that happens. That's how juvenile delinquency always starts. Juvenile delinquency always starts with kids cutting class, and as one judge pointed out, burglarizing homes and addiction second degree, that's a felony, and it continues on, and the parents can go to jail. Really bad. So what we have here is just basically saying, you know what, this is what needs to happen here. If I continue doing this, this is what's going to happen to me. If I don't go to school, this is what can happen to me. So what can I do? I'm gonna help you prepare for truancy court. The next time you go to truancy court, I'm going to help you prepare. Like we talked about in our previous episode, the thing you have to understand is when you go into court, you need to wear nice clothing. A shirt, long sleeve shirt, tucked in, no words on t-shirts. Polo shirts are acceptable. Ties. Just make sure you dress nice. Dress to impress. You got to take this very seriously as well. In truancy court, you will be in front of a judge. You and your parents will be in front of a judge. You'll have case managers there. You have a bailiff and officers there that will help you. You have a program that may help you. In Texas, they have Blue Bonnet Trails. Blue Bonnet Trails is a program where if children are not doing whatever they are not keeping up with their schoolwork, then that program can really help out with the child. In one case here, which I'm not going to show you, there was this girl who had a lot of absences, and Blue Bonnet and Judge Bill Marvin suggested her going to Blue Bonnet Trails for tutoring and counseling because she had a problem with bullying. So, you and your parents will be there. You'll be in front of a judge. You'll have a bailiff, case manager there, and you'll be asked to answer to the petition true or not true. If you answer true, then they'll go forward and issue remedial orders. First talk to the kids, now talk to the parents. They talk to the kids and say, okay, what's going on? That's a lot of issues and ask who takes you to school. Those questions like that. After that, they go to the parents and ask, okay, what's going on here? Like if it's separation or something like that, then this is what needs to happen here. Another thing, don't put your hands in your pockets like this. Because people are going to think that you're going to get something dangerous like a gun or a knife. Keep your hands out of your pockets and into your lap. Like this. Or at your side. Don't go putting your hands in your pockets because you're all nervous and all. Leave your hands out of your pockets. Leave them out. And they issue remedial orders, you have to follow them to the letter. If one of them said you're required to go to school, you're required to go to school. And if the student is sick, then it'll be up to the nurse to send them home. And mom and dad has to talk to the child and say, you know what, find a way to get them to school. Like if you're taking them to school and then, because the worst thing is the parents take the kids to school and then they just go off and skip. The bus is the only option here. The bus. Buses have free transportation from the buses. Another thing, they have the right to take away your driver's license. They have the right to order you to do community service, you and the parent. And if you come back to court for a follow-up and say, you know what, I turned this all around, I went to school every day, there was no unexcused absences, I was sick, I did what the order told me to do, so and this and this, I did what was asked of me. The proof is if the child can turn it around, you can turn it around. In other states like in Horry County is very strict about it. Kids can be sent out to juvie and the parents go to jail. And if in Horry County the child's like, kids are parents are saying, well, I can't get my child to go to school, this and this, it's not an excuse. And if parents are saying, well, I can't get my child to go to school, it's not my fault, then the judge will take the child into foster care. Into the foster system. They'll be with the foster parent. In those days, the parents can go to jail and the child can go to foster care. But they'll be with the foster family and they can make sure the child gets to school. So, that's just a brief summary of how to prepare you for truancy court. So the next time you go on truancy court, make sure you watch the video so that way you can understand what's going on in truancy court. You'll be in front of a truancy judge, and then you will be asked to follow the remedial orders. If you don't follow those remedial orders, then you can be held in contempt of court, and you'll be fined. If it continues again, then in this state, you'll be ending up in a juvenile probation department. Balance new conditions, and refer you to the district judge in your county. Well, you'll then go in front of the juvenile judge. And he or she will, and that juvenile judge will tell you that they might be looking at incarceration. That means jail. It's not just a weekend stay. And if it continues on in this state, if you end up in a juvenile jail, the district court judge will inform your child that can end up in a sentence of up to 1 year. The advice I have for y'all is to talk to your kids out there. Don't have poor attendance. Make good decisions. Talk to your crisis counselor, your school counselor, your house principal, sub-school principal, assistant principal. Just reach out to your counselor. I'm not making this up, and the judges is not putting themselves in jail, putting themselves in a position to do this. I mean, one judge was going to fine him, but he didn't want to do it, so he just threw the book and threw him in jail for 72 hours. That's how it works. If a child did not go to school, this is what can happen. And it's what can happen to you if you don't take this seriously. Schools don't take truancy very seriously, and so therefore, mean, kids don't take truancy very seriously or take the education very seriously, so therefore, what's been happening here is something like this. Kids are not staying home, eating popcorn, watching TV, things like that. They're breaking into cars, breaking into houses, doing drugs, committing crimes. That's how juvenile delinquency always starts. And we place juveniles in the juvenile detention center. That's basically how it works. So that's been a brief summary about truancy court and my lesson on how to prepare you for truancy court. What's the moral? What's the common sense about all of this? Stay in school. That's the common sense perspective. We'll be right back. It's time for a viral break. Now imagine this case scenario. You're in class and then all of a sudden you see something being thrown at. This was a 7-minute video that got over 2,000 views. I'm not going to show you the whole thing here. But I'm going to show you what happens when a shoe gets thrown and the whole argument here and towards the end here where she gets escorted out. Take a look.
Pages. Are you serious? Who threw this shoe? Who threw this shoe at me? Literally, who threw this shoe? Get the police. Get the police. Who threw this shoe? Who threw this shoe? Speak up. Was it you? So you ain't even got the shoe on. That's not mine. This is definitely your shoe. No, it's not. Are you serious right now? That's not my shoe. Are you serious right now? You really took your shoe off and thought it was okay to throw a shoe at me? That's not my shoe. It's definitely your shoe. Really? Really? This is your shoe? No. Yes, it is. I am proving it. You have one shoe on and one shoe off. I just wore one shoe. Literally, at this point, let me express something to you. I am not your mother. I did not come to school to play with nobody else's kids. Okay. That was totally disrespectful for you to throw a shoe while I'm trying to teach my class. I didn't do it. At this point, I'm going to ask you to leave. Leave my classroom. You're being disrespectful. Totally. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, you're going to go somewhere. I'm not going anywhere. You're definitely going to go somewhere. You're going to go anywhere. Out my classroom. Okay. Listen. I don't know what your mama allowed you to do. I don't know what your father, your aunties, your uncles, I don't know who allowed you to act like this, but in my classroom, I don't allow it. I don't allow it. I'm not going to accept it. And I want you to get up and get out my classroom. I'm not going anywhere. Put your shoe on. Oh, yeah. Put your shoe on. I am. Put your shoe on. Thank you. You can put your leg down, put your shoe on, get ready to get up, get out of my classroom. Like this. No, you actually really starting to irritate me. I'm talking about on a whole nother level. I have tried to be nice. I have tried to be civil with you. You being disrespectful. I'm not tying nothing. I'm not tying nothing. At this point, I don't even want you out of my classroom. I want you gone from the school because if you act like this, you don't have that authority. Oh, I got authority. But look at me when I'm talking to you. It's a sign of disrespect.
Okay, we're gonna have to skip this to where she keeps throwing a lot of stuff and the officer gets in.
I'm very professional. What are you gonna do? I'm very professional at my job. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh.
The only Hollywood. God, you're lucky. That's because you're just you're lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky. All right. When the police come, I want you arrested because at this point you assaulted me. I'm a kid. You're not a kid. You putting on big girl drawers at this point. Big girl panties you're trying to wear. At this point, I don't see that you could do anything. Shut up. Literally.
Oh my God.
Literally, you couldn't do about.
Alright, let's get to where the police come and we're gonna wrap it up.
I'm not
going nowhere.
You need to leave.
Why don't you just go out there and teach? Like your job is to do is go out there and teach.
Guess what? You messed that up. You messed that up. I literally want her out my class, but not only out my class, I want her out the school. Because she disrupted my class, she disrespected me, she threw a shoe, all that stuff you see, she threw all that. She needs to be gone. She needs to be gone. Like straight up.
Is my shoe on my foot?
Did you throw a shoe? Yes
Is
or no?
my shoe on my foot?
I asked you a question. Did you throw a shoe?
Does it look like there's a shoe thrown? That doesn't make sense.
You need to go.
It's weird. You can't do this.
Yeah,
I'm going to
I'm literally a kid.
Get out.
No,
Give
you're
a
not.
backpack.
What?
Give a backpack.
I'll get that later. She needs
Are
to
you
go.
serious?
I don't even want her in my practice. Like, seriously.
Wow.
Wow. I don't want her to.
So basically, all has to happen because she was disrupting the whole class by throwing a shoe and throwing everything else. Here's a 30-second one, then we're going to wrap it up here. This was 10 years ago where a student throws a biter at a classmate. Take a look.
I can't do that. What is this anyway? If you throw it, you're gonna break his neck. What are you doing?
And that got over 1 million views. And it would have really gotten him in trouble. Common sense would tell you two things. One, if you throw something, that's assault. And two, if you throw something, it will get you automatically suspended or expelled from school. That's the bottom line. And that's Give Me a Break for this Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. For everyone here at YouTube, have a good night, everyone.